Hi, I don't know if you can see me behind all these big, strong gentlemen in blue, the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I have a gentleman on my left that I'm going to introduce, and his name is Ed Fitkin. He is one of our very best-known and finest sportscasters. Ed began his career here at the Maple Leaf Gardens. He joined the Navy after some years of service. It was back in the Gardens, and if I'm getting any of this wrong, you just kick me in the shin here and I'll get the right idea.
Just a little bit, Al, but that doesn't matter. I was a sports writer first before I went to the Gardens.
All right. He joined the CBC as a sportscaster. He's doing that right now, and he is also public relations man for the Toronto Maple Leaf Hockey Club. Ed?
Right. Thank you very much, Al, and we're looking in today on a workout of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And tonight down in Montreal, they opened the season against Montreal Canadiens. Of course, we don't know the score of that game right now, but Saturday night they opened the season here in Toronto, and the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, Keeler Mackay, will be on hand to drop the opening puck.
Ed, I think one of the nicest things we could do for our viewers, our vast audience on the scene, and for the Toronto Maple Leaf hockey fans, is to have you introduce all the boys. I think we're going to get them lined up in just a few moments' time. Would you, maybe for now until we get them lined up,
all right,
describe a little of the action going on?
Very good.
And then I understand we'll see each one of the fellas, and you can give us a little background and history on it.
They're just loosening up now, and Punch Imlach blew his whistle. You probably heard it. And the players are lining up, and we'll have a good look at the boys who will wear the blue and white this season. Of course, the team hasn't been definitely set as yet. One or two players are still holding out, but I think Punch Imlach will have them all signed up in no time. So now we'll go down the line and have a look at the Toronto Maple Leaf players. First of all, there's Dick Duff, a little left winger. He had a fairly poor season last year, but looking forward to great things this year. He was a 19-goal man last year, 29 the year before, and Dick is a real fireball, and I think he'll make a good showing this season, Al. Now, moving along the line, we come to Bob Pulford. Bob is the boy who 2 years in a row now has led the Toronto team in scoring. He tied with Armstrong 2 seasons ago. He was the top man by only 1 point over Armstrong last season. Very fine center, great player. And he's getting ribbed by the boys, as you can see.
I can see that. Yeah, it must be tough to just stand there in front of the camera for
well, there's the
seconds.
Duke. Isn't he a handsome character? That's Gary Edmondson. He's a real ball of fire. He and Jerry James made quite a penalty-killing combination last year, and the line of James, Wilson, and Edmondson was one of the crowd favorites around Maple Leaf Gardens. Great things expected of Duke. Now we come along to the veteran Red Kelly, great star for Detroit Red Wings for 13 or 14 years. Now a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs since last spring. And Red is playing center now, Al. That's quite a change.
Is Red talking about retiring at all, Ed?
Well, we certainly hope not. He did retire, but we persuaded him to come back, and we're looking for great things from him. And there's Tim Horton, one of the last players to capitulate as far as the contract terms were concerned. Tim joined the team last Sunday in Buffalo for the first time, but he looks in pretty good shape. Does a little advertising selling on the side during the summer. And here we have the veteran from Scepter, Saskatchewan.
Oh, he took
Bert Olmsted. Hey, where'd you go, Bert? That was Bert Olmsted. There's Larry Regan. Just for going a little long on this, that's Larry Regan, the star from Ottawa. Larry Hillman, new defenseman, obtained from Springfield, All-Star American Hockey League defenseman last year. Larry Hillman, one of the new defensemen. And here we come now to Bobby Baum, the hard rock of the Toronto defense, plays defense with Carl Brewer, and quite a combination they are. Moving along from Bobby Baum, we come to the veteran Al Stanley, who is playing some of the greatest hockey. The older he gets, the greater he becomes. And last year he made second All-Star team in the National Hockey League. That's Al Stanley, assistant captain. One of our new boys, Bobby Nevin, we're going to meet him a little later on the show, up from Rochester, finally getting his big chance to make the team this year. Bobby Nevin.
All these boys are not then signed up yet, are they?
Well, they should be by this time, Al. And here's another of our newcomers, St. Michael's Junior College star, Dave Keon from the Northern Ontario, and he is a cousin of Todd Sloan. Great prospect. Looks like he might make the team right from junior hockey. And here's old Hard Rock Carl Brewer, defenseman. He led the league in penalties last year, but this year I think he's going to be a little more gentle with his language and not get so many misconducts. Carl Brewer.
Is he as tough off the ice as
No, he is one of the most gentlemanly fellows you can meet. Matter of fact, he's very scholarly. And there's Johnny Wilson, great pinch hitter. Been a star around the league for a good many times. They call him the Iron Man. He's played over 600 games without a miss. Johnny Wilson. Look for great things from him this year. And here's Jerry Eamon, great man in the playoffs 2 seasons ago. played a tremendous series for Toronto. Didn't have such a good year last year, but they're looking for Jerry to come back this year and maybe pot 15 to 20 goals.
They're all real TV pros, too. Look at those big smiles.
They're pretty good. There's Billy Harris. He went to Europe with a couple of his buddies this year. They traveled about 10,000 miles, and he put on so much weight they didn't recognize him when he came back. Weighed 172 pounds. Billy Harris, the center, and a real fine puck handler. And there's the captain, George Armstrong. He's got his teeth in this time, as you can see, Al. And George has been one of the outstanding stars of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I made a gag about him at the opening luncheon we had at the Toronto Maple Leafs training camp. I said he was half Indian, half Scotch, and with a dash of 7-Up, he'd be an unbeatable combination. And George is a real worker, a great captain. Ron Stewart, very fine player, right winger, outstanding star, could be a great player this year. Ron is talking away there. I don't know what he's saying, but he hasn't stopped yet. Frank Mahovlich got a kick out of it. Frank's the big left winger. He's taken on a new lease of life since Red Kelly became his center man. And the line of Kelly, Mahovlich, and Nevin could be quite great for the Leafs this season. And here's the old veteran from Lake Waskisu out in the west. I don't know what province is in it. I've forgotten, but that's Johnny Bauer. He won the Bickle Trophy, the most valuable player award in the Leaf organization, for his fine play last season. So there you have
the microphone.
Okay,
Ed, that was a grand job. Thank you very much. Ed, I guess I'm like any other normal, red-blooded young Canadian lad. Every once in a while I get the urge to come on down here to the Maple Leaf Gardens, see a hockey game, get on the phone, you call them up, and they say, I'm sorry, we haven't got a ticket left. What about this, Ed?
Well, this is the bugbear of my particular department here at the Gardens, the public relations department. It's pretty hard to public relate when you haven't got any tickets. It's the old story of supply and demand, Al. We have 12,573 seats at the Gardens.
A story I've heard, Ed, that's it, you just hang on to that.
All right.
A story I've heard is that, and this apparently is true now, you can verify this for me, that this has happened on occasions where someone has willed their tickets to their heirs so that the season's tickets can stay right in the family.
I've heard that too, Al, but I've never seen any actual working, but it has happened. I know Henry Bolton, our box office manager here, has told me about it, and tickets being as expensive and as hard to get and as priceless as they are, I can understand it happening, because we have 2,300 standing room, and normally the Gardens is sold out for every game. We haven't had a night since 1947 when the Gardens wasn't sold out.
Well, Ed, could we get you to describe a little of the action that's going on the ice right now?
All right, fine. We'll see what the boys are doing. As we swing back, you can see Johnny Bauer in the goal down there. Here's a player coming in on him. It's Dick Duff. He shot and missed completely. Now you get a good view of the way a player looks to Johnny Bauer coming in. Here's Frank Mahovlich, and a fine stop there by Johnny. And he hooks the puck up, gets ready for another rushing attack by the players. Punch Imlach stands at one end of the ice, and the players are past the puck around center ice. Here's Bert Olmsted now cutting in, and he takes a quick shot. And at the other end of the ice, you see Johnny Henderson, who has come out of retirement to work out as a spare goalkeeper for the Leafs in their practices. Now there's Bauer again, and you'll see the Toronto players coming down. Here's Bobby Pulford moving in now with Larry Regan. Larry shot, and he missed the goal. They better do a little better than that against the Canadians and the New York Rangers on Saturday night.
These practices are pretty tough work, aren't they, Ed?
They certainly. How would you like to be a goalkeeper, Al?
No, thank you. I imagine there must be tremendous stress and strain.
When you see a shot like that, you see how lonely it looks.
Sure. And that net is a lot bigger than it looks, too. There's plenty of area to cover.
There was a ricochet shot off the goalpost by Larry Hillman. And they're coming in again, and they keep working. And Punch is directing his team at the far end of the ice. There you see the Toronto coach. You look pretty good in your Maple Leaf outfit. I thought you were Imlach there for a moment.
I should mention why a peewee like me is dwarfing you at the moment. I'm wearing skates and you are not.
Well, I'm not one of the biggest fellas in the world, but...
So that's got me about 5 inches up on you.
All right, here
feel big and strong.
They're starting to rush again now, and here's Bert Olmsted moving in. He shoots, missed the goal.
They look very good out there,
The pass out in front is picked up by Horton, who tried a backhander, and Johnny knocked that aside. The lights were bothering Johnny quite a bit in the practice, and he was going to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm. What about this mask, Ed? Can you tell us a little about it?
Well, Johnny doesn't like it.
He does.
I mean, he wears it occasionally in practice. Now, here's another rush. Here's big Frank Mahovitz passing over to Nevin, and Nevin scored. That's the first one we've seen, I think, on this practice shooting. But Jacques Plante, of course, he's the man who brought the mask, the Halloween mask, into the National Hockey League, and it seems to work great for him.
He still insists on it, does he?
Yes, he says he can play till he's 54 if he has that mask. I don't know whether he will or not.
As part of the stress and strain, I imagine you've talked to Johnny Bauer about this, as part of the tremendous strain of a goalie, the fear of being injured, I imagine that enters into it.
I don't think they worry about it. You know, after they, like Johnny, for example, I would say he's had at least 200 stitches in his face from being hit in the face by pucks. But I don't think that bothers them. They're right in the game. Their heart's in it. They'll do anything to stop the puck, even if they have to eat it.
Is there a mental attitude that he must assume before he goes out there? Because let's face it, there is a good amount of danger involved.
Well, I think that Johnny has been around for so many years that nothing would bother him in hockey. He has come up out of retirement practically to be a National Hockey League goalkeeper practically at the end of his career. Now watch him play this shot. See, he blocked it beautifully. He's a great fighter. The players love him. And when he's in the net, they play their best. And there you see the boys moving around again. Johnny, the lone eagle in the net.
Who's down at the other end, Ed?
Long John Henderson played for Whitby Dunlops.
There's a lot of shouting and calling going on by the fellas. What is all this? Are they just signals or having fun, or?
No, they're needling each other, you know. They have a habit of betting on, like, I'll bet you a dime you can't score 4 out of 5 shots or something.
Well, it's a little bit early for the Hot Stove League to go into action, but one can hardly put foot into Maple Leaf Gardens without attempting to make some sort of guess as to how the Maple Leafs will do this year, 1960. But we have 3 gentlemen, at least I think it's 3. Oh, looks like we got about 8 over there. Anyway, we have a stack of gentlemen this high who should know, and here to chat with them now is Ed Fitkin.
In on your last sentence or two there, but I have 3 members of the Toronto Hockey Writing Fraternity who cover the Leaf games home and away. First of all, Rex MacLeod of the Globe and Mail, Red Burnett, Toronto Star, and Fred Cederberg, Toronto Telegraph. And gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to make your predictions on the outcome of this National Hockey League season, and say them loud because we have some eager ears listening just a little way along the bench. Rex, first of all, you.
Well, Eddie, first one is not very tough. I'll go with the majority and take Montreal Canadiens by, well, just about as many points as they wish to make it. The next 5, I think there might be a little scrambling in there. It's things like injuries and one thing and another will affect them, but I actually think Chicago Blackhawks will get second. Toronto Maple Leafs third. I might put them as high as second if Imlach took Al Baliska as a full-time coach. 4th place, I think Detroit Red Wings, if Gordie Howe stays healthy. 5th place, I would say New York, and 6th Boston.
All right, Red Burnett, what are your prognostications?
I'll go wrong with Rex pretty well. I think that Canadians will win. I don't think they'll win as far off as last year because I think they'll miss the Rocket. I think Chicago will get a better start than they did last season and wind up second. Leafs third. And I think it'll be a scramble between Detroit and Rangers for the 4th slot. And I give a little edge to Detroit because of Howe. And I picked Boston last because I don't think their goalkeeping rates with the goalkeepers on the other team.
Well, you fellas are sticking pretty close together so far. Fred Cederberg, what's your prediction?
Eddie, I don't think there's much trouble, as Rex said, in calling Montreal for first. Even Connie Smythe down in Los Angeles said there were 5 well-balanced teams in the league, and that would indicate that Montreal is about the leader. Second, I would like to call Toronto. I would, providing Chicago gets off to a lumpy start as it did last year, but barring a lumpy start, it should be Chicago with Toronto third. I've got an idea that the Rangers will come in 4th place, and I think Detroit will put up a pretty good struggle. However, if they get off to a bad start, and I am guessing that they will, Eddie, I think the Rangers will be dead last with Boston. At least Detroit will be dead last with Boston 5th.
All right, gentlemen, it looks like the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to finish third in your estimation. And now for a rebuttal, We'll go over to Rex Loring and his special guest here this afternoon.
Press to members of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I have on my immediate left Bill Hatch of the Silver Seven. In the center, Stafford Smythe, who's chairman of the seven-man hockey committee known as the Silver Seven. They run the Toronto Maple Leafs. And on the end, Jack Amell. Now, gentlemen, anything that you heard those reporters say that you want to take particular exception to?
Well, I don't know of anything. We don't usually speak to them, so we shouldn't speak to them on TV either, I don't think.
Well, fair enough. What about the future for the Maple Leafs in this coming season? What do you think?
Well, Rex, I think that if some of our younger players like Brewer and Mahovlich and Fulford come along as well this year as they did last year, that we'll have better balance in our club. I certainly think with Red Kelly being with the team for a full season, it's going to make a big difference to our club and particularly to our younger players. And if Johnny Bauer can have another good year in goal, I think we're going to be stronger than we were last year.
Mm-hmm. Stafford?
Well, I think you should let Jack talk because he's the expert as far as the committee are concerned.
Will
You almost took the words right out of my mouth, but I was just thinking, I think for the one and only time so far, I'll agree with Rex MacLeod. I think Canadians will finish first, but I think we'll be second. I think with our club, and as Bill said, Johnny playing as well as he is, I think we're pretty much of a cinch to finish second.
Now, in that exhibition game, we were all very impressed not only with the Leafs showing, Boston, Toronto down in Los Angeles, but by the reception that Los Angeles gave them. Do you think there's any future for Los Angeles inclusion in National Hockey League?
Well, I don't know about the inclusion of Los Angeles as yet, but certainly from a crowd standpoint, they were the most enthusiastic crowd that I've ever seen in an exhibition hockey game. I think the 11,000 people that were in there for the second game made about as much noise as the Leaf fans do here in a Stanley Cup final. Don't you think so, Staff?
I'll have to agree with that, and I think that it's inevitable that they will be in the league as soon as scheduling and enough other clubs can come in with them to put a decent schedule together to take care of the extended travel that's involved.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for talking to us this afternoon.
My guest is the big man, the miracle man of the Toronto Maple Leafs, the eternal optimist, as the Toronto Maple Leaf fans and the boys that play for him call him. And this is a term of endearment for Punch Imlach because he's a popular guy, not only with the players, but also with the fans. He's coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs and its manager, and this is a big job, and it's a big responsibility. Punch Imlach, could you just move right around here so that our audience, our on-the-scene audience, can see your good-looking face? Now, Punch, I am told that some years ago, we won't say how many, you started out as a violinist. This is a surprising thing to me, but did you ever regret giving up the violin?
Well, no, I took 5 years of violin lessons, but my first love was always hockey, and I guess that's the one that won out.
You never planned on a career,
No,
a musical career?
I would say that I was forced to practice all the time, like good parents make you do, and I just didn't care for the violin.
There are too many strings attached anyway.
I would say so.
Now, did you, I don't want to make your story sound like a fairy tale, but did you plan your life this way? Did you think years ago as a boy that this is the way your career would end up at the pinnacle it is at now as manager-coach? It's a big responsibility. How did it all come about?
Well, I'm just like any other East End boy in Toronto. I thought that I would like to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs when I was a child, and it just didn't materialize, but I would say that it just came about. I had no idea that I was even going to stay in hockey after the war. I left and went to Quebec, and it just seemed to follow in the path that that's the way it was going to be, and that's why I'm here.
Do people often tap you on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Imlach, I know you're busy, but don't you think if you switched around this line or moved so-and-so from here and put him there, we'd have a better hockey team?" Does this happen often?
Well, I would say it happens quite often, but the way I look at it is that everybody that buys a ticket and everybody that watches the TV screen is a coach. That's where they get their kick out of the game. They always try to second-guess you, and that's part of the business, a healthy part as far as I'm concerned.
Well, now I have the big question. We eavesdropped a little while ago, and you heard what those gentlemen over there told Ed Fitkin. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are they can call anything they want. As far as we're concerned, our objective is to finish in first place and win the Stanley Cup. And if we can make their predictions wrong, I'll be the most happy person in the world.
And are you predicting the Stanley Cup for the Maple Leafs this year?
Well, absolutely. What else? If I don't feel that way about it, I would be silly to start.
May I wish you every success for a big year. Punch Imlach.
Thank you very much, Al.
Manager coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Well, as you can see, we have some big, strong, healthy gentlemen in blue and a couple of thin weaklings here, Ed Fitkin and myself. These are players of the Toronto hockey team, and Ed will introduce you to them and talk to them in just a moment's time. First of all, to George Armstrong, I have one question to pose. George, everyone writes about you and the Maple Leaf hockey teams. Everyone gets a word in but George Armstrong. What kind of a year will it be for the Leafs, George?
I think we're going to have a very good year. We have approximately the same team as we had last year, plus 3 new additions in Larry Hillman and Dave Keon and Bobby Nevins, and they're certainly good hockey players, and they're going to help us a lot. Montreal will be lucky if they get first place this year.
Now, Ed Fitkin, if you'll open your big hand, I'll place the microphone in it, and you're the sportsman. Will you carry on from here?
All right. I'm just going to ask George one thing. The hockey writers called you to finish third. What do you think about that?
Well, they called us to finish 4th or 5th last year, so we finished 2nd, so that's one better than last year anyway, so it may be 1st then, Ed.
Okay, Chief, thanks very much. And here's one of the new players that George mentioned, Bobby Nevin. And Bob, certainly nice to have you up here with the Leafs.
It's very good to be here, Ed.
It's been a long struggle trying to get up to the Maple Leafs. How many
Well,
years have you been in the minors?
This is my starting my 3rd year of pro hockey. I spent the last 2 in the minors.
Yeah. What happened to you last year? You suddenly got really hot.
Well, I came to camp in good condition last year, which I failed to do the previous year, and I think that helped me very much.
You got a little more confidence, too. You had a fine year at Rochester.
Yes, Ed.
And what about your line mates this year?
Well, I'm playing with 2 very good hockey players, and Frank Mihalovich and Red Kelly. Should have helped me very much.
Kelly's quite a KG veteran, isn't he?
Quite a playmaker, yes, sir.
Well, Bob, the best of luck to you. Where are you from?
I was born in South Porcupine. I make my home in Toronto now.
Another northern boy, eh?
Yes, Ed.
Thanks. Best of luck, Bob.
Thank you.
And here's another northern boy, Dave Keon. Look right up here at the camera, Dave, because we want to have a good look at you. How old are you now?
I'm 20 now, Ed.
Could you play junior this year?
No, I'm
Just
through
out
my
of it.
junior. Yes, I'm just out of junior.
Last year you had a great season with St. Michael's College. How many goals did you score?
I had 33 goals last year.
You've been putting the puck in the net with consistency in all the exhibition games.
I hate to interrupt. I think we'd better move it along a little faster because we're running short of time.
Okay, very good. But good luck, Dave. You're playing very, very well, and best of luck to you.
Thank
Johnny
you.
Bauer, the real veteran of the NHL. John, it's good to have you back from out west. What's the name of that place you come from?
Waskesiu Lake, and wonderful summer resort up there.
Oh, I thought it was an Indian remedy for something. But how was the hamburger business this
It
year?
was very good. The weather's been wonderful, and the tourists seem to be all coming up there. So it's great fishing up there also, and it's a wonderful place to spend a vacation.
We're glad to have you back because I didn't think you were coming back.
No, I was undecided at the present, Ed. I didn't know what to do. I mean, of course, when the season's all over, I just didn't feel like playing hockey again. And then during the summer months there, I sort of changed my mind a little and had quite a talk with Punch, and I'm very happy to come back to Toronto, and I certainly hope that we can win the Stanley Cup. I'm certainly hoping that even at my age we could win it, and it'll be something I'll never forget.
Okay, John, and Al, you want to get around here? Wait till we do a little dance here, okay?
Thank you very much, Ed Fitkin. Thanks, Johnny. Well, my friends, thank you, Ed Fitkin, for doing that great job for us. Because I couldn't have handled it. I'm hardly the sportsman you are.